Today I'm going to make a catapult. I'm going to be able to shoot wiffle balls and snowballs if you want. Maybe any kind of a light material. You don't want to catapult something really heavy into your friend. So this is a piece of plywood, 15 inches square. I'm going to divide it in two along the center of 2 corners. There, I've cut it. Now it's 2 triangles. The base needs to be cut as long as the long side of this triangle. So in this case, it's going to be 21 1/8. Now I've got the 2 side pieces clamped together in a position where I can drill a hole for the dowel that is going to be part of the catapult. I'm just going to approximate where the center of this hole should be. I've cut the axle for the catapult. This is a 2x12, and the plans call for a 2x8, but that's all I had on hand, so that's why I'm using it. I'm using 2-inch drywall screws and a regular screw gun to assemble it. I cut a piece of 1x. This is, what is it? 3 3/8 inches wide, and I'm using a bean dip can as my catapult. So I just went by the width of the bean dip can, and there's a little bit to spare, maybe a 1/16 to spare on each side. And I'll mount that at the top of the catapult, which will be up here top. But right now I'm going to put the launcher into place where it's centered in between the 2 sides, and I just picked a rough spot where the thing should hit, because it's got to stop here at the bottom. The rubber band's going to pull it back, but it's got to stop positively on the bottom here. So I just picked a random spot and hope it works. I've marked lines on the axle here, centered between the 2 sides, and I'm going to make a flat spot to accept this piece of wood on the axle. Alright, what I've done was taken a block and drywall screwed it onto my dowel. This DeWalt cutoff saw has a feature where you can set the depth of the saw blade by screwing this in and out, and this folds down. That's a full depth cut. That'll do a cutoff, but then I have it set here so that when the blade comes down, it touches that stop, and it just cuts in 1/4 of an inch of this dowel. I'm just going to attach it with 3 2-inch drywall screws. I've got a bushing here. Hope that's in focus. And I'm going to cut maybe 1/4 inch bushings, 2 of them, and then use a drywall screw to screw this to the axle to act as a stop to keep the axle from backing out either direction. Found an old mop with a handle looks to be about 1 inch, and I'm going to use that for my pegs to hold the rubber band to the catapult. I have an old inner tube I got from a tire shop, and most tire shops don't have old inner tubes. You have to find one that is maybe has used tires, because most tires nowadays are tubeless, and they're not going to have an inner tube. But this is like a 16-inch tire inner tube, and I'm going to cut it with my shears. Now I'm going to staple. First I'll stretch it a little bit. Now I'm going to staple this rubber band, if you will, this tire rubber band, to the end, the short end of the catapult. Now I'm going to drill 3 holes for the pegs. I've marked them already. These holes are at about a 15-degree angle back away from the rubber band end of the catapult arm. Earlier I said we were going to use a bean dip can. It's got a higher profile than a tuna can. So I made my wife's lunch today with tuna, so I'm going to use a tuna can instead. I've started 2 screws in the holes in the can. I just kind of used an awl to punch a hole in the bottom of the can and then started the screws. And then I'm just going to use my driver, drive them in. Now I'll show you how the rubber band, if you can see this, attaches to the pegs. You just pull it back to whichever peg you want. Get more force with the second one, maximum force with the third one. So put it on the first peg, and then you can pull it, and then it catapults whatever's in the little tuna can. Well, we have our finished product here. You pull back on the top of the launcher, have a water balloon or a wiffle ball in here, and there she goes.